Life is full of challenges, isn't it? We all face hardships, unexpected changes, and moments of deep uncertainty. Whether it's a relationship falling apart, a career shift that takes us by surprise, or the weight of our own personal doubts, we all experience moments when we feel lost or overwhelmed. But what if I told you that these very struggles, these painful moments, could be the key to discovering something profound about our existence? What if the greatest peace we could ever experience lies not in avoiding pain or discomfort, but in understanding it and embracing it? Imagine for a moment, instead of fearing uncertainty, you could find freedom within it. Instead of resisting change, you could flow with it. This isn't some far-off idea. It's something that has been taught for thousands of years, and it's something that can transform your life today. Today, I want to share with you a timeless lesson from Buddhism that has the potential to change the way you see and experience the challenges in your life. It is a lesson that has been passed down through generations, one that teaches us to turn suffering into growth, loss into liberation, and impermanence into peace. This teaching is known as anicca, or the doctrine of impermanence. It is the profound realization that everything we know, our thoughts, our relationships, our achievements, and even our very selves, is in a constant state of flux. Stay with me until the end of this video, as I walk you through a story that will not only explain the Buddhist perspective on impermanence, but also show you how this understanding can free you from suffering and bring you lasting peace. This is not just a concept to understand intellectually, it is a truth that, when embraced, can completely transform the way you live and experience the world. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates the Buddhist view on impermanence. This story comes from the life of the great Zen master, Hakuin Ekaku. One day, a village girl from a small town approached Master Hakuin with some troubling news. She seemed to be in deep distress, her eyes filled with shame and confusion. With a hesitant voice, she said, "Master, I am pregnant, and my family is angry with me. They have cast me out, and I don't know what to do. What will I say to them? How will I ever face them again?" Hakuin, known for his profound wisdom and compassionate yet unflinching approach, simply nodded, without judgment, without an ounce of surprise. He quietly said, "Bring the child to me when it is born." He made no further comments, and the girl, feeling both desperate and somewhat comforted by his calmness, left the temple, her heart still heavy. The months passed, and the girl gave birth to a child. Overcome by guilt, shame, and fear of rejection, she returned to Hakuin with the infant in her arms. She felt as though she had no other option. As she approached the Zen master, she said, "Master, here is the child. I ask you to raise him. My family will not accept me, and I can no longer face them." When Hakuin saw the child, he didn't hesitate for a moment. Without any visible emotion, he accepted the baby into his arms and said gently, "I will care for him. Bring him to me, and I will take him in." The girl, overwhelmed with both relief and a sense of surrender, left the temple, but there was still a deep sadness in her heart. However, the story doesn't end there. As fate would have it, the girl's circumstances took a sudden turn. Her family, eventually discovering the true nature of the situation, realized their error in casting her out. With time, they forgave her and welcomed her back into the fold. Soon after, the girl came back to Hakuin, but this time, with a completely different intention. With a mix of gratitude and hesitation, she confessed to the Zen master, "Master, I have been lying to you. The father of the child is not unknown to me. I had told you that I was alone, but that wasn't true. My family had no idea that the father was a man from our village." Hakuin, ever calm, simply responded with a serene smile, "Ah, I see. But this is the nature of life, isn't it? Everything changes. You were angry with your family, and now they have come to accept you. Just as the seasons change, so do the hearts of people. And just as the child grows, so do you, learning and transforming through every step you take." At first glance, this story might seem like a simple tale of mistaken identity or a straightforward example of human error. The young girl, ashamed of her pregnancy, deceives the Zen master, and tries to avoid the consequences of her actions. Yet, beneath the surface, this story carries deep wisdom about impermanence, attachment, and how we often react to our own suffering. Notice how Hakuin responded to the situation. When the girl came to him, filled with despair and fear, expecting condemnation, he did not react with anger or judgment. He did not question her or punish her for her mistake. Instead, he simply acknowledged the reality of her situation and accepted it without resistance. When the child was born, Hakuin did not question the truth of the matter. He did not cling to preconceived notions of right and wrong. Instead, he opened his arms and accepted the child as it was, understanding that life, in all its forms, is constantly changing. In Buddhism, this understanding of impermanence is key. The teaching of anicca, one of the 3 marks of existence in Buddhist philosophy, teaches us that everything in life is in a continuous state of flux. Nothing stays the same forever. People, relationships, emotions, and even our thoughts are all subject to the law of change. The child, the girl, the village, everything in this story, like everything in our own lives, is transient. Nothing is fixed, permanent, or unchanging. In the story, Hakuin exemplifies the wisdom of embracing the present moment without attachment. He does not react with anger or frustration, as many would in such a situation. Instead, he embodies the profound truth that we can only find peace when we stop resisting the flow of life. It is easy for us, as humans, to become attached to our desires, our expectations, and our ideas of how life should be. We resist change because we fear uncertainty. We crave permanence in a world that is ever-changing. But Hakuin teaches us a valuable lesson. When we stop clinging to what is transient, we can experience true peace. His acceptance of the girl's situation, and later, the acceptance of the child, shows us that letting go of expectations allows us to be in harmony with the present moment, no matter how it appears. The girl's deception, her attempt to escape the consequences of her actions, reveals another key lesson in Buddhism. We often try to escape our suffering, hide from it, or deny its existence. But just like the girl's attempt to hide the truth, this avoidance only prolongs our pain. By facing life as it is, and accepting its impermanent nature, we can find freedom from suffering. Thus, this story isn't just about one mistake or a village girl's troubled life. It is about the nature of reality itself. Hakuin's calm response, his deep acceptance of impermanence, offers a model for how we might live with greater equanimity. When we understand that everything is in flux, we stop clinging to what we think should be permanent. And it is through this understanding that we can find lasting peace. I want you to think for a moment about your own life. How often have you clung to things or ideas that, deep down, you knew were temporary? How many times have you resisted change because it felt uncomfortable or threatening? We all have moments when we want to hold on to our successes, our possessions, our relationships, and even our ideas of who we are. We want to cling to the moments that make us feel safe, happy, or validated. But how many times have we realized, only after losing something or watching it slip away, that it was all part of the natural flow of life? Take a deep breath and allow yourself to let go of that attachment, just for a moment. Think about a time when you experienced something you wished would never end. Perhaps it was a vacation, a happy moment with family, or a relationship you cherished. It could have been a time when everything felt aligned and perfect. But, like all things, it eventually ended, just like everything does. Maybe you tried to hold on to that moment for as long as you could, trying to stretch the joy, the peace, or the love you were feeling. But no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't stop time. You couldn't prevent change. And eventually, the moment faded into the past, leaving you with a sense of loss, perhaps even sorrow. But now, I invite you to look at that situation through the lens of impermanence. Instead of seeing the end as a loss, can you see it as an opportunity for growth? Can you recognize that even in the moments of discomfort or the moments of change, there is a hidden opportunity for transformation? When something ends, whether it's a happy phase, a relationship, or an event that once seemed essential, it's not a punishment. It's simply the way life works. Everything is in a constant state of flux, from our emotions to our bodies, to the very world around us. Holding on too tightly to something that is already changing only causes suffering. But embracing that change, even when it's hard, allows us to let go of the weight of attachment and move forward with greater clarity and peace. Think of the Zen master, Hakuin. He didn't fight against the truth of the girl's situation. Instead, he accepted it without judgment and, through that acceptance, allowed both the girl and the village to experience a form of liberation. His response illustrates the profound Buddhist teaching of anicca, or impermanence, which says that everything is in a constant state of change. Nothing lasts forever, neither good moments nor bad ones. This is not something to fear, but something to embrace. In our own lives, this teaching can be incredibly liberating. When we realize that everything, our joys, our losses, our struggles, are part of the impermanent nature of existence, we can begin to stop fearing change. We stop clinging to fleeting moments and start to appreciate the beauty in the present as it is, knowing that even though it may not last forever, it has value in its own right. Take a moment to think about your life today. What are you holding on to? What are you resisting? Is there something in your life that feels like it's slipping away, and you're holding on desperately to prevent it from changing? Whether it's a job, a relationship, or a phase of life, what would it be like if you let go, just for a moment? What if you embraced the impermanence, allowing the flow of life to carry you without resistance? The story of Hakuin teaches us that the wisdom of accepting impermanence doesn't just lead to peace in the face of difficulty, it also frees us from the attachment that binds us to suffering. Letting go, then, isn't about giving up, it's about opening ourselves to the full richness of life as it unfolds. When you stop resisting change, you stop creating unnecessary suffering. You open yourself to new possibilities. You can savor the moments you have without clinging to them, knowing they are precious because they are fleeting. You can release the fear of losing what you hold dear and allow space for something even more meaningful to emerge. So, what if the next time something precious in your life begins to fade or change, you didn't fight it? What if you, like Hakuin, simply accepted it and let it pass, knowing that it was never meant to last forever? Could that shift in perspective bring you peace? By embracing the impermanence of life, we open ourselves to the fullness of each moment, just as it is, beautiful, fragile, and fleeting. And in that, we find the freedom to live fully, without fear, without attachment, and with an open heart. That is the gift of impermanence. When we accept that nothing lasts forever, we no longer cling to our desires or fears. We stop resisting the natural flow of life, and instead, we learn to dance with it, just as Hakuin did in the story. We let go of the illusion of control and learn to move gracefully through the inevitable ebbs and flows of existence. In Buddhism, we are taught that suffering does not come from change itself, but from our attachment to things that are always changing. We want to hold on to moments of joy, avoid moments of pain, and keep everything fixed in place. But the truth is, nothing stays the same. When we try to hold on to something that is by its very nature fleeting, we create unnecessary pain for ourselves. It's the grasping, the clinging, the desire to make things permanent that creates the suffering, not the change itself. Think about it. How often have you suffered simply because something you loved, whether it was a job, a relationship, or even a way of life, ended? You wished it could have lasted longer. You hoped the moment would stretch into eternity, but it didn't. And that's where we get caught. When we expect the impermanent to be permanent, we invite pain into our lives. But when we learn to let go of that attachment, we free ourselves from suffering. We begin to see that everything, both the beautiful and the painful, is part of the natural cycle. We begin to understand that loss is not an end, but simply another form of transformation. It is in this space of acceptance that we can experience true peace, peace that isn't dependent on what we have or don't have, but on our ability to embrace life's constant changes. Just like Hakuin in the story, we too can learn to embrace the transient nature of life and respond with wisdom, compassion, and clarity. No matter what challenge you face, remember, it too will pass. The pain, the joy, the confusion, the clarity, they are all temporary. What remains is your ability to find peace within that change. So, the next time you find yourself facing a difficult moment, a period of transition, or an uncertainty, take a moment to pause and remember, nothing lasts forever, and in that truth lies your freedom. Find peace in the impermanence, for it is in letting go that we truly begin to live.